What if Dave Norton decided to shoot Michael instead of taking his side? How did Steve gain so much control within the FIB? And what happened to Steve after the third wave? We are going to answer all of these questions in this video. While little is known about Dave's background, at some point he began working for the FIB. According to Lester, Dave was married to a woman, but that marriage didn't go so well as it later ended up in divorce.
Agent Dave Norton, white middle-aged divorcee, unremarkable career except for one incident, the shooting of a notorious stick-up man, Michael Townley.
Yeah, all right. Lester, I'm very impressed.
Dave's career with the FIB had been unremarkable until 2004, where he got in contact with one of America's most famous bank robbers, Michael Townley. Dave made a deal with Michael to surrender his crew to the FIB, where the original plan was to shoot Trevor and arrest Brad. But Dave accidentally shot Brad instead, leading to Brad's death in 2004.
Someone must have fucking talk!
Alright, Brad's gonna be fine. We gotta get the fuck out of here.
Trevor escaped alive, swearing that he would avenge his crew. But what he didn't know was that his closest friend was the one who betrayed him. With the help of some corrupt FIB agents, Dave faked Michael's death and buried Brad in his grave instead, taking credit for taking down the most wanted man in America.
I was in all the papers. I was on the evening news. The man who killed Michael Townley.
Yeah, I was quite a trophy.
Dave knew that as long as Trevor was alive, it was a risk for the entire operation, so he sent letters to Trevor pretending to be Brad, saying that he's still alive and stuck in a prison.
We'll send another letter. It's about time anyway.
Oh, so that's you who's been sending those fucking letters to Trevor, huh?
Yeah. He thinks they're from Brad, who he thinks is locked up in high security and not 6 feet under in a grave marked Michael Townley.
Michael Townley changed identity and moved to Los Santos, where he retired and spent most of the time with his family and drinking.
You're just a drunk, lame dad.
That might just be the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me.
What?
After the deal, Dave and Michael didn't really have a close connection. We know that they still kept contact, as Lester reveals that Michael has been sending millions of dollars to Dave Norton every month.
Witnesses don't transfer five-figure sums into a particular FIB agent's bank account every month. Of course, the money gets moved around and washed through a number of fronts, but the trail is there. Deposits and withdrawals, the same sum every month. Agent Dave Norton.
These transfers were Dave's payment for helping Michael get rid of the authorities and being able to leave his life of crime behind. Dave arrives at Michael's mansion after Michael and Franklin robbed a jewelry store, warning them that this type of attention could attract Trevor.
What is wrong with you?
Davey! Long time no see.
And what about Trevor? If that fruitcake realizes, finds out you're alive, you are D-O-N-E fucked!
Hey, don't worry about Trevor. Trevor's dead. It's gotta be.
And Dave was right. Trevor was informed about the jewelry store robbery, leading to him paying a visit in Los Santos.
I grieved for you. You weren't even fucking dead.
So if Trevor finding out that Michael was alive wasn't bad enough, as a result of the Vangelico store robbery, Dave's boss, Steve Haynes, starts looking into his old case files and he finds out about the deal he made with Michael. Steve sees this as an opportunity and uses his position of power to control Dave and uses Michael and the others as puppets.
I did what Agent Norton said.
Then I guess you getting involved with a clapped-out old agent who's been living off of past glories was your first mistake. You are my boy now, amigo.
Michael, Franklin and Trevor work for the FIB in their battle against the IAA to secure more government funding. Dave, who knew that following Steve was the only way to avoid jail, accepts his lead and goes off alone to explain the situation to Michael, convincing him that them helping Steve is the only way to keep both of them out of jail.
The more I see of your boss, the more I like him.
If I was you, I wouldn't be so critical of who others associate with.
So is he gonna be a problem?
For sure. But there's nothing we can do about it. If something happened to him right now, I'd be right under a microscope.
Dave and Michael infiltrate an IAA-controlled morgue to find out if Mr. K is dead or not. Michael finds out that Mr. K is still alive and he is currently being tortured by IAA agents at their headquarters.
Next, I'll have this thing so far up your ass, your tonsils will be playing shadow puppets. You think we can't do that? We can. It's in our guidelines.
Dave, along with Haynes and a fellow corrupt agent, Agent Sanchez, force Michael, Franklin and Trevor to perform a mid-air extraction to rescue him from the IAA. However, despite rescuing him, Haynes immediately starts torturing Mr. K, forcing Trevor to do the torturing, while Michael and Dave head out to assassinate Tahir Yavan, a suspected Azerbaijani terrorist. They discover that the terrorist is throwing a lavish party, forcing Dave to make several calls to Steve in order to get a better description of the target.
Any of these bearded guys at the party smoke cigarettes. Mr. K says he smokes like a pack of 2 a day.
Redwood cigarettes?
Thank you, Mr. K.
Dave Norton is then forced to accompany Haynes while he briefs the trio about their next assignment, starting with the robbery of a Group 6 car containing funds the IAA collected from a drug trade. A few days later, Steve discovers that Michael and Trevor are hiding from Martin Madrazo at Trevor's trailer in Sandy Shores, so they arrive at the meth lab to inform them of their next assignment, infiltrating the Humane labs. Haynes claims they're developing a nerve toxin that they intend to use in a staged terrorist attack in order to increase their funding.
Government funding thing. We need you to investigate a research lab upstate.
It's about terrorism, the big one, nerve gas, biological terror.
Thank God I don't pay tax.
I'll give Lester a fucking call.
Leaving them to get in contact with Franklin and Lester Crest so they can steal the necessary equipment and execute the robbery of the Blaine County Savings Bank. The Blaine County Bank is used as a front by the corrupt police from the Los Santos County Sheriff's Department to store the money they extorted from the local weed farms. As their work against the IAA continues, Steve becomes increasingly more paranoid at the prospect of failing to cover his tracks. Steve and Dave force Michael and Franklin into breaking into the FIB headquarters with the help of Lester to delete their files about Steve. In return, Steve promises to clear Michael's record.
Michael, you'd be doing me a very big favor. And if you do this, I will make sure that all your files are deleted.
After the raid, Michael calls Dave to delete his track record, but he refuses because of Michael's involvement with Trevor's hit on Merriweather.
Saved you again, Davey. Again. So what are you gonna do for me about Haynes, the rest of the FIB, the IAA, and everyone else, huh?
History's written by the living, okay? We can pin most of it on Agent Sanchez. I get that story right and the agency and bureau will back off. The problem we need to deal with is Trevor.
Trevor? Why?
Try Merriweather, Chinese gangsters, general insanity, and so on. I can spin Steve that you're controllable, but not Trevor.
Just get me out.
Michael meets up with Haynes and Sanchez at the court center to discuss where they stand. Haynes is paranoid that the FIB might know that he backed the raid against them and betrays Michael.
They know or think they know that I'm the one that was behind the incident.
Uh-huh. And now you want me to clean up your mess again, right? Before I end up at the bottom of the ocean.
Taking us to what you all have been waiting for. Why didn't Dave betray Michael? Both Sanchez and Haynes pointed their guns towards Michael, so Dave could easily just have taken their side and shot Michael. Dave's main motive behind taking Michael's side was because he knew how impulsive Steve could be. Steve always had the control over Dave, and he knew that as soon as Steve got in trouble, he would expose Dave without even hesitating. Agent Sanchez and Steve were much closer than him and Steve, so if someone had to take the punishment for the FIB's corruption, it would be Dave. Dave took Michael's side because he knew that Steve would soon get caught, so the only possible way out of it was to help Michael.
Now, Steve, we agreed to speak to Michael, to try and explain things to him. Not this. This causes problems for us all.
Dave meets up with Haynes after the wrap-up, and Steve wants all 3 protagonists killed, but Dave manages to talk them out of it. But he insists that Trevor must die. Why did Steve want Trevor dead? So the most obvious reason was that Trevor had made enemies with everyone. The military, hipsters, Merriweather, and even Chinese gangsters. But this is only partially true. Steve feared Trevor because Trevor didn't follow rules from anyone. Trevor was the only character who was more impulsive than Steve himself. This is seen when he forced Trevor to torture Mr. K. The torture was too much even for Trevor, making him feel sympathy and forcing him to control his emotions.
Run!
You free?
All three of the protagonists had dirt on Steve, but Trevor was the only one who would have the balls to expose him. Michael had too much to lose to expose Steve, and Franklin would put himself in too much danger. Why did Agent Sanchez betray Steve? Agent Sanchez betraying Steve was really unexpected, or was it? Sanchez was Steve's biggest puppet, but compared to Dave, Steve actually had a friendship with Sanchez and saw him as a good colleague. Sanchez was always very insecure and searched for more power, so when he worked for Steve, he felt like he got the power he deserved.
But you made a mistake.
Did I, Cupcake?
Why don't you keep your fucking voice down before I close your fucking windpipe? The joke stopped now, pal. You will show me and my team some respect.
But even Sanchez saw Steve's flaws, and just like Dave, he knew that he would be sacrificed if needed. During the wrap-up, he saw the opportunity to take down Steve and finally get attention and power he always wanted. How did Steve have so much power within the Bureau? Steve joined the FIB in 1975, giving him almost 40 years of experience. He became a high-ranked FIB special agent to the point that he was given leadership of his own unit and became the boss of several high-ranked agents, including Andrea Sanchez and Dave Norton in 2008. Steve was also chosen to become the host of a new criminal reality TV show. As a host of the show, he made reports on gang activity and became extremely likable by the media.
I'm decorated FIB agent Stephen Haynes. The FIB, the police department, and the sheriff's office are fighting a war out here every day in a city where dreams too often become wet.
But most importantly, he knew a lot of rich people. Steve in particular was known to be on the payroll of several wealthy and powerful people, including the billionaire Devin Weston, whom Haynes considered as a close friend. After the end of the third way, Dave and Michael are on good terms. David calls Michael asking how his life is going and about his family, and he tells Michael that his job is going better than ever.
Michael!
Davey!
Are you behaving yourself?
Oh, but of course.
And how are the kids?
They're good. I actually mean that. Amanda, too. How's work?
Work, it's fine. Better than fine. It's good. Had a few lucky breaks. Look after yourself, Mike.
You too, Davey. You too.